Storm clouds moving in. Whatever's going on, it's about to begin. I remember what the drunk donkey told me when he said, son, don't be. Mike's where the page lie is about to begin. Then he's gonna tell you about the wind and the rain. Gonna tell you which way it's going. If it's gonna be a hurricane, don't you worry about the news that they try to hide. Just click on Mike's page, Drunk Donkey Nationwide. Will there always be some news they don't understand? Mike's got a friend and 100,000 more across the lane. If you want to know it first and you want to know it right, don't have time to wait. Drunk Donkey Nation tells you Mike gives you rain. Then he's gonna tell you all about the wind and the rain. Gonna tell you if it's gonna be a storm, if it's gonna be a hurricane. Don't you worry about the news others try to hide. Look on my page, Drunk Donkey Nationwide. Yeah, here in Mike's page, Drunk Donkey Nationwide.
All right, what's up, everybody? Good morning. Listening to my man Andy Simmons. A little bit of Hurricane Ian footage, if you were wondering, a couple years ago. Hurricane Ian was after the whole month of July and August. We had nothing. People were talking about it. They're like, what happened to the season? It's a bust. Then all of a sudden, bam. And Nicole came along and finished what Ian didn't on the East Coast. But anyway, hope you're doing great. Good morning. We're going to be doing a live here, coming to you from Oldsmar, Florida. This is my boy Louie. He always helps me. The original, my man Louie. Got a little bit of weather to talk about. Nothing out of the ordinary. Oh, man, the side hurts a little bit. Ouch. But I want to keep everybody up to date. We're getting daily tropical updates now, so we're going to keep you up to date on the tropics, even though things are kind of slow. And get through it. The next few weeks are a zoo. I've just got done with like 48 hurricane expos, almost. Felt like it. But things are slowing down a little bit on my end. Go to the Gulf Coast Jam next week. So if you're in Panama City Beach, look us up. We'll be hanging out with the Jim Beam crew. Mark and Randy up there. Love to hang out with all the locals. Got a lot of friends up there in Panama City Beach. So we're heading up Tuesday, and then on the following Monday, we set sail on the Utopia for our 4th annual cruise. No dogs allowed. So the cruise, the jam, 2 weeks, and then once we get back here and I plop my little butt down on June what the hell is it? June what? Let's see here real quick. I need to get it in my head. So June, let's go here. The 9th. Should be pretty much every day until November. So we're ready to rock and roll, right, Shelly? For year 21 of Mike's Weather Page. Crazy, crazy, crazy. 21. Nice boat ride. Yes, Gus. If you're talking about our little ride, it was nice. Yes, we went down to Jimmy Iguana's. Had a great little dinner there. It was awesome. Last night we had dinner at Ozona Blue. So what are y'all up to? So let's talk weather in a minute. We'll say hi for a few minutes. What's up, Ian from Jamaica? Corey from Jacksonville Beach. Let's put up our ABC logo there. Our Daily Brew brought to you by our good friends at ABC. Fine wine and spirits. We'll be heading up that way to Panhandle, the one that got snow. I want to talk to the locals up there about their snow, by the way. Just a few months ago, we were chasing snow in Panama. It'll be 95 degrees. Just a couple weeks ago, they were chasing snow. The wild extremes of Florida weather, right? Nuts, nuts, nuts. Let's leave it right here, showing our Bermuda high pressure system, kind of what's going on in a nutshell. While we say hello. Morning, Miss Karen. Oh, going to Phoenix, Tiffany. That ain't no fun. Mike Soul, yep, Santa Monica Beaches just opened up. I saw my buddy Matt Devitt posted that. Man, it seems like that's a long time, right? Louis likes the smell of coffee, but he doesn't. Look at that. My boy Dusty. Dusty, you watching? I hope you're doing good, buddy. Miss you. Anyway, all right, that's a high pressure. A few more minutes of lows, and then we will get right into it. I promise. I want to say hi to our diehards because we don't get to a lot when things are busy. Boone, North Carolina, mid next week. Connie, you just don't know that far out. We're on the edge of these big systems that come across, so the pattern seems like you're going to get something. But that weekend, I don't know. I'm not too long range yet, so I'll look for you before the end. Remind me. Anyway, William, what's up from Hope Sound? What's up, Savannah Meg? Missouri, another round of weather. They've just been getting it every damn day. Linda, what's up? Hope you're doing good. Well, cool. Oh, my boy. All right, we'll put you down. Go see your brother. All right. Well, chat's slow, so I want to get into the weather because I do have some graphics that I work on and tell everybody, you know me, I love weather, and every damn day I'm checking the weather, and I did get our little rubber duck for the ship good to go for Julie. We're tagging our ducks. So on the Utopia in 2 weeks, we're going to have Mike's Road page tagged ducks. Hopefully somebody puts a picture. 7th moderate risk this year. That is crazy, Curbs. I didn't know it was 7. I know we got red there. We're going to talk about it here in a second. I got a little latest. The Storm Prediction Center maps usually update around 8:50 Eastern now. 9 in the morning. Why did it say Friday when it's Monday? I don't know. Did I mess something up? Probably did. Let me see. Let me go over to YouTube real quick. I might not have changed the right little button over there. Let's see real quick. Oh, mine says Friday. Where do you see Friday at? Don't know. Facebook, maybe? I don't know. Don't know. Oh, updated. Okay. We need one. We need a little automated AI thingy. All right. I don't know. What do y'all think about AI? By the way, AI isn't crazy. I like it, but some people don't. So. Marcy can't log into Mighty. Oh no, didn't even know you were over there in Mighty, Marcy. I didn't know that. Well, darn it. Kentucky, Devin. Yeah, we're gonna talk about it here real quick. All right, so let's talk about the weather. Everybody's getting antsy. I like it. So we'll be live Wednesday this week. Then we got our wacky schedule. Remember, you can always go to the webpage to find out when we're live next. Spaghetti Models, MikeSweaterPage.com. There's your next time we're live. Obviously, we're live right now. So I will update this for Wednesday. And pretty much it. Probably next Monday. And then we'll take a little break. Sorry, James. How you doing, James? Mary Ann, how's it going? Gus? Yep. All right. Well, here's the scoop. All right, so we got another low pressure system. It seems like I got a 7-day satellite loop too here. I'm going to show you, but that's current water vapor this morning. Pretty wild, right? And we got another spinning low there coming across. It's going to bring some storms out ahead of it. That's just nuts. That's been like back to back to back low pressure areas. They do call them cyclones. They're low pressures on land. More tornadoes last night, Steve. Yep, it's been unbelievable. Crazy. All right, so that's current water vapor loop. Here's tropics one, by the way. I kind of like this one. We're going to talk about this. A couple people were kind of misread my tropical wave post. Well, they didn't read anything because I said on there it was normal. But anyway, I always like to bring out the first tropical wave. It just means that things are starting to come across the Atlantic. We'll talk about that here at the end as the tropical update, but there's nothing in the tropics to be worried about if you're worried about it. But we do see a lot of juice down here, and it's kind of riding low. The monsoon trough, they call it intertropics convergence zone, is riding low, which is normal this time of year. And we'll get into that here in a second. But there's nothing to worry about. Tropical waves are normal. We're going to talk about that a little bit. So if you're coming here for that, no worries. Here is the heat, though. This is crazy. We got a 519 to 522 heat alert here for Texas, Louisiana, and Florida. And you know as well as I do, it is hot. It's we got a cold front coming down. I do have sarcasm. We have a little bit of cool weather coming. Not much. But this is everything in a nutshell. We got storms in the middle U.S. as always. Big heavy rain, big blocking high pressure across the Gulf pretty much shields everything. That's why we have a bubble down here. Because there's a big old high pressure right here. Kind of both sides, but basically keeping everything pumping up there like that. And this is where all storms are at. You can see that right here. Kind of showing you that flow. This is the Euro today, but there's your high pressure that we're dealing with on the Euro. It's spread out way far, funneling all this moisture up out ahead of this frontal line, which is why we got storms up there. So high pressure bubbles are fascinating, and that's what we got. We got some big heat coming in the next couple of days. Big heat. All right. Rainfall through Monday AM. So here's some graphics I had prepared today. I always like to look at things like this. This is rainfall through Monday, the next, 8 days. But look, not a lot at all. We had light green over the state yesterday down here in Florida, and that's because the conditions are, if we were to get an isolated thunderstorm, they could be thunderstorms because of the heat. You get these quick pop-up storms, and because it's so dry, they dissipate very quick. If we were to get one, you'd see it go up and down. And there's a song, up, they go down. All I do is win. That's it. Win. All I do is win. But anyway, so there is a chance for some very, 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 very isolated storms across lower Texas, Louisiana, upper Gulf, all the way across through the Florida Peninsula. This is rainfall through Monday. A lot of rain, middle part of the U.S. again. Mississippi will not be running dry this year. A lot of rain in that region. A lot of rain over the last few weeks. Just kind of stuck in this pattern. So our rainy season typically doesn't begin until about middle May, maybe if we're lucky. But usually, my dad always said, usually 1st of June, end of May, 1st of June is when you start getting a little more juice in the atmosphere. But that's it. Rainfall through Monday. Not a lot. Here's the temperature map. So let's talk about this little cool front we got coming down. We got a cool front Wednesday and Thursday coming down. This is Friday temperatures. We could see normal temperatures across the upper Gulf, but all these little temperatures is basically departure from normal. So, man, we got in areas of blue 5 degrees below normal, not 5 degrees below temperature. -5 would not happen right now in middle May, but it's 5 degrees below normal. But look at these greens; these are 10 degrees below normal, and we got some areas 15 plus. So this whole time stamp, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, basically you see it. I'll fast forward it, but this is this stuff I post. So if you're wondering what these maps mean, it's departure from a 30-year normal. If it's normally 88 degrees and you're -13, that means you're going to be 75. So there's that. All right, so here's the sarcasm from earlier. I don't think a couple of you all got it. For us, where I live, Thursday would be the coolest day after that cold front comes through. And these are the coolest high temperatures in the next 9 to 10 days. So it is cooler, but we're still going to have a 96 somewhere in the state, down to the south. So we are going to be cooler Thursday, but only 93 in Orlando. So that's what I was talking about. So we do have a cold front coming down. Very little cooler. Right. Here's that 7-day map. This is a cool 7-day map here. This is on iWeatherNet.com. Let me show you here. It looks at the last 7 days on satellite. Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe. It was working as I don't know where it went. We just refresh, I guess. Let's see. Well, broke the internet. It is a cool link when it works. I don't know where it's at. Maybe I'll put it online. But the link's on my page, Mike's favorite page. If you go down here in the second column, 7-day past satellite. So there it is. That'll actually look at the last 7 days of satellite. But I'm going to close it because I don't want to crash Chrome. All right, let's look at your latest Storm Prediction Center outlooks. Here you go. This is today. This one just got freshed up. So big, large, level 4 out of 5. Pretty serious again. Obviously, Oklahoma areas. We got a little bit of storm stretching down into Carolinas and northern Georgia. So this is all circling that high pressure that's locked in over the south. So you kind of figure these storms are going to branch out and get pushed off to the east a little bit. But there you go. Pretty large area of storms today, Monday. This will go to Monday night. Tornado outlooks large. Hatched area conditions EF2 or greater possible. It doesn't mean everybody there is going to get it, but it does mean there's a large area, unfortunately, that could be dealing with tornadoes today, Monday. Large area of wind is hurricane force gusts no matter what. So even without a tornado, we could have a strong line of storms bringing you basically hurricane force gusts. And hail, large hail area, hail. Could even see hail stretching off in this front part here. So hail could be significant. Now tomorrow, that area moves a little bit off because we got a cold front coming. That high is going to get pushed a little bit. And it's going to come back quick. I'm going to show you. Saturday could be hot here. We had some maps showing upper 90s, even 100 right around Tampa for next Saturday. So we'll dive into all that. But this is tomorrow, large area tomorrow. Already showing orange level 3. So definitely something to keep your eye open for tomorrow. We have a hatched area tornadoes already, so that'll be something that'll get tweaked. These maps every day, the farther you go in time, these maps get updated a couple times a day. So it's tricky because you'll see a map and then the next one could be altered, changed. So you always want to stay tuned to the latest SPC maps because as we get on the day of, they'll get tweaked a little bit more. Sometimes the coverage expands a little bit more on the day of. So this is basically a general area tomorrow. And on Wednesday, as our front pushes south, guess what? Storms possibly lower Georgia, upper Florida, all the way through the Carolinas there. So that's something to watch on Wednesday as our front line gets going. So Frank, what's my gut tell me on hurricanes? Funny you should mention that because I was going to talk about hurricane season now. Since I've been sharing this tropical wave stuff, I don't want to wait too long. There's not a tornado in Pasco right now. I don't think so. Brittany, what? Tornado? No, there's not. What are you talking about? Anyway, all right, so hurricane season. Well, I've been talking a lot about it. So those that watch every day, I don't want to sound like a broken record. However, we're going to have a busy season as far as names go. There should be no lack of names. The average year is 14 named systems. Official forecast already came out. I think NOAA's comes out this week, 5/22, I think. But NOAA's comes out this week. They'll call for a slightly above average season, okay? That makes sense to me. We're going to be in a La Nina neutral pattern, which we were last year. We were not in La Nina last year. We were in neutral last year. Those years have more storms push off to the west. We have a stronger Bermuda high. Water temperatures, I'm going to go into here in a second, are already running a little above normal. So the ingredients are going to be in place. Pinpointing is hard. However, if we have a repeat pattern of that Bermuda high like last year and other El Nino neutral years, we should see more systems pushing that 60-degree west mark, which is right before the islands and the Lesser Antilles. A little bit more action past that as we might have less fish storms. That's typically what I see over years that we see La Nina neutral patterns. So definitely, other than that, other than the water temps, they're not predicting, last year they predicted 22, 25, 30 storms and we had 18. So it doesn't take a lot of name storms. So anyway. So, anyway, let's talk about tropics. All right. So, obviously, nothing brewing. This graphic's on my site. It's on my app. Remember, I have a nice little app if you're curious about it. Let me make sure that graphic even works. But there's the page. NHC Outlook. There it is. So, every day you can log in and simply see the easy stuff. And I got SPC outlooks on here, too, which I think are very important. SPC Convective Outlook. So there's your 4 days on there too if you want to see them. They're really easy to access. I like that kind of stuff. But anyway, we got links to Levi's sites there if you want to run the models. And so, all right, so nothing's brewing. So what's this wave shenanigans I posted yesterday? So this, a lot of people got a little worried. So waves are part of this time of year, summertime. There are moments in time that we have 6, 7 waves coming across. Waves are just areas of storms that's what happens. 99%, most of the time, I don't know the percentage, but most of the time these are just clumps of thunderstorms that reach the islands. And most of the time they just go right on through the Central America there and go out into the Pacific. Sometimes these waves are what get going in the Pacific. Sometimes these waves cross Central America. So waves aren't anything to get worried about. That's normal. You get nervous about them when they become a little bit more thunderstorms action when they start lowering pressures. And then once they start lowering pressures, they become independent systems that now are lifting. And I'll get into all that down the road. But anyway, so first waves, I did a simple Google search last night. I did. I'm not, every day I learn something new. Normally waves pop about end of May. That's the normal time. So we might be a week ahead of schedule, maybe 5 days ahead of schedule. So it's historically this time of year we start seeing waves come across. Notice this intertropics convergence zone line is very far south. I'll get into that here in a second too, which also means we have a very strong Bermuda high and likelihood of this wave just becoming nothing into Central America. So Mary Cara, what's up? Morning. Joanna, yep, only takes one. Morning, Bobby. Holy cow, my girl. Tropical season. So, Frank, yep, I hope that answered my gut. I think it's not going to be a slow season. I think somebody will be impacted. we just don't see the pattern like we did, which I'm going to show you here in a second. So, all right, there's that wave. So wave, this was not a hype post. This was just letting everybody know, hey, our first wave. You might have seen a lot of other, folks sharing it. It doesn't mean anything. The models aren't showing anything much with it. So anyway, I posted this morning. There's our wave out here in the intertropics convergence zone. So there's that big area of thunderstorms that happens this time of year, and these waves are what can sometimes get spinning a little bit and get some thunderstorm activity to it. So it's going to be here Wednesday. This I circled where the surface chart maps are. So by Wednesday, it might be getting a little closer to central. So that doesn't matter. So that's all that means. The wave is what we look at. Waves sometimes can help kickstart old frontal lines. So basically, tropical waves are just clumps of thunderstorms that ride across the Atlantic. Very, 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 very normal. It's when we get later in the season that these waves can become a little more organized. Less shear, no dust. Next thing you know, they start looking organized, and then they pop off, and they become individualized low-pressure systems. So no stress. But believe it or not, we got a lot of people watching down in the islands that rely on these waves. This is the time of the year they need water. And they need these waves. This is what keeps the Caribbean plugging away, our tropical waves. So that's that. No, nothing more, nothing less. We look at different things right here. Tropics in a nutshell. Down the road, you're starting to see a lot of hints of something in the Pacific. Very normal that they start first. Very normal. A lot of signature here that maybe next week we'll see something out there in the Pacific. Notice really nothing showing up, obviously, in the on the Atlantic side. So that's where we're at with that. There's these individualized spaghetti model runs. Let's look at GFS. Notice we never talk about GFS very often. Well, they were showing shenanigans so many times. Let's see what's new with the GFS. See, nothing even on the GFS. 31 little brains. There's a lot of the brains that agree over here, but nothing. So things look quiet. And this goes out 15 days. June the 3rd. So not seeing anything to stress about. I'm not going to point out things until they get a little traction. But back to that Pacific thing, I thought was interesting to show. This one graphic right here really kind of puts it into play here. At least the I wonder why I can't open that picture. What the heck? Oh, because my marker's on? There you go. There's the water temperature. So there's your water sea surface temperature map. And you can see, when I start talking about the water anomalies being warmer, it's confusing because I did a post yesterday. The water anomalies are warmer than normal, which is why they're predicting a little more hurricanes this season. But then I go back and say, the Pacific's warmer than the Atlantic. And like, well, how did you just say? Because even though it's warmer than normal, it's still cooler than the Pacific. Does that make sense? But so your water temperatures in the Pacific are a couple degrees here Celsius warmer than the Atlantic. That's why they usually get tropics started a little earlier than the Atlantic side. Is because they're a little bit warmer, and that's current sea surface temperature now. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, a little bit. Does to me. What else do I have open here? Oh, water anomaly maps. So here's the water anomaly maps. So I posted this one run. Yeah, this is where I definitely sound confusing. I'm like, the water anomaly maps here. Pacific's cooler than the Atlantic. Cooler by 2 to 3 degrees. Atlantic's 2 to 3 degrees warmer. Maybe it's net 0. But the Atlantic is warmer than the Pacific. And it's a lot to do with winds and strong winds uprising, upwelling the cooler waters from below surface. So a lot of these strong winds in the Pacific bring up the cooler waters. Less winds across the Atlantic helps the warmer temperatures warm the water up. And that's where we're at. So, pretty warm, honestly. If we go back to this timestamp last year, let's look at May of 24. We can go back time here. I never got my new mouse hooked up yet. I've gotten numb to the clicking. Shelly, I've gotten numb to the clicking. That's funny. Oof. So here's the water last year. Holy cow. So that's a lot more than I thought. So you can just see last year the reason we were getting these early season predictions of a 25 name season is they were looking a lot at early season water temperatures. And that's, let's see if we can get to values here. U.S. data. So, 3.6, 4, 3, 2. Darker reds are 3. Pretty much the Caribbean, though. This is why we had Beryl last year. Beryl was a late June Cat 5 hurricane. July 1st turned Cat 5. Very rare Cat 5 in July 1st, but very rare to have these warm waters. And then we go to right now. So I'd say a good degree less, at least. 2 degrees there. So you got the idea. But it's not a talking point to make it sound like there's not going to be anything. That's the point I'm trying to make. Just the fact they're just a little bit above. Liz, Wednesday weather? Okay, you're welcome. Richard Sanford, good morning. So anyway, that's just stuff that you monitor. There's a little bit of talking points about the Eastern Atlantic being a little cooler, but now it's already warmed up. I think at this point, you can't go. I think tropical tidbits down. I really don't know where the models are at. I was going to look at over on weather models. Not that important. But long-range modeling, all showing warmer temperatures as far as sea surface temperatures go. So that's, all this preseason stuff is hogwash sometimes. It's the pattern of El Nino versus La Nina, which we're in. So, Amanda, what's up? So another graphic I have up before we go into some more local weather. This little guy right here. So I posted this one yesterday too. What does this map mean? Well, this is 2 years ago, 2023. We were in a very strong El Nino, which we are not now. El Nino years have very little activity here because of a lot of wind shear. And wind shear helps prevent hurricanes from forming. We have a lot of fish storms here because the high pressure is very weak. So the year of 23, we had a lot of fish storms. We still had Idalia. Only takes one. Remember that? A lot of fish storms that year. Very, 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 very all right, so here's 24. This is last year. Even though we didn't have a lot of names, we had a lot of Gulf, Caribbean. And you just see it. Just a little different, right? More push west. So that's kind of what we're looking at. Beryl was early season, Cat 5. Crazy. Started in June. So yeah, it can't happen. It happened. Can happen again. Happened before. Here's that intertropics convergence zone, which is really tricky to look at this time of year. You can really see it. These waves come off of Africa. Usually they come off around 10 degrees, which is about right here. Usually this line is up here somewhere, but it's not this time of year. It rides a little low early season, and we get a lot of dust early season. So a couple things. Early season storms you get a big plume of African dust, and then you get a low ride in intertropics convergence zone. These storms usually need to be a little higher up in order to get a chance to break off and head into the Caribbean. But right now, when we have this very strong high pressure dome, basically, it pushes that line south normal this time of year, and a lot of these waves just end up getting in the northern parts of South America there, and the ABC Islands and all those little spots, and cross over into the Pacific. And you can see where they're already starting to see a little bit more spin when these winds converge here. You get winds from the south. This is really fascinating, but look at these winds, and sometimes you get a little low pressure area that starts, and there you go. So we don't worry too much about out there this time of year, bottom line. But what's crazy to see, if we look at the 850 winds, this really shows it. Now I can hear my click now. I'm really getting annoyed. Look. But here's your high pressure spiraling around, right? All this ends up funneling here with this low pressure here, and we get a lot of instability in between. So when you get this fast moving jet stream horizontally coming across, so these winds are lower level, and we plop on over to 250, and you'll see tremendous amount of winds coming across from that jet stream. So you get these winds going that way, you get the southern winds going that way, and guess what? You get lift and things get going. So it takes that high pressure across the southeast to really make these big storms popping. And you got plenty of moisture with the frontal line coming down. So let's talk about that frontal line. Here's temperatures. So here's temperatures today. Anything white is middle 90s. Monday, there's Tuesday, tomorrow, 97 Orlando. Keys are at 87. Why? Because you got a lot of winds coming across the south side around that high pressure. So those strong winds across the waters there helping keep the Keys cool. Here's Wednesday, same. Here's that little bit of front line coming into play. These are high temperatures. There's that front on Thursday right here. See it? 70s for a high. Look at Georgia. You're going to have 60s high in the north and 90s in the south. These are high temperatures on Thursday. And then Friday, the front tries. So the coolest day for the peninsula is going to be Thursday. 91, 92, 88, 89, 89, 86, 90. And then we go back to Friday. Guess what? It starts to get back up there again. There's our front saying bye-bye. But hey, if you're up there in the upper Gulf, look at this. On Friday, it'll feel a little cooler. This is Friday. And Saturday is the big question mark. Saturday, Sunday next week, we're going upper 90s, still showing 98 somewhere across Florida. The Euro is showing the possibility of 100 around Tampa Bay on Saturday. So Saturday, Sunday, this weekend should be extremely hot across the Florida Peninsula. Not so much on the Atlantic side. You got that strong winds coming in, helping cool things on the Atlantic side. But anytime we get this set up where the high builds back in on the Atlantic, that front pushes through the high. Louis, hey, nothing came out. Pushes that high off to the east. And when that high comes back in, we get a lot of winds coming in off the Atlantic as that high builds back in. So, but very warm Saturday, Sunday next weekend. Sunday we're looking at 98 somewhere along here too. So it's going to be hot. And I don't see any break anytime soon. This is next Tuesday, May 27th. So we don't go too far out from that. Things change. But I do want to look at rainfall maps. These are 24-hour rainfall totals. So you get an idea kind of where it's at. Anything popping. There's that front coming through. This is through Wednesday. So here's your frontal line. This is Tuesday. There's Wednesday. And then by Thursday, it fizzles out. You might get some rain later Wednesday here across the southeast, maybe. Little bit of rain Thursday. in the middle part of the state. There's that front line just fizzling out. Very little rain showing. And then we're back to nothing. All the way to maybe, I mean, that's all the way 10 days. I mean, there's just nothing. This is all the way to almost to June now, so. I don't know. That's weather in a nutshell. Javier, showers for the weekend, very, 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 very few. As of now, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think we're gonna see. Maybe South Florida, maybe some very isolated pop-ups. But I mean, you know, Saturday, you can kind of zoom in there. Saturday, a little bit lower peninsula. Sunday, same. Here's Sunday. So, yeah, very isolated, Javier. You're right. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Very isolated. But it's getting close to normal pattern again. So, hopefully. So, what else we got? Teresa, good morning. How you doing? Bobby, you need to go on our cruise next year. It's too late this year. First part of June. Heck, the 5th year Mike's Favorite Page cruise, Bobby, you can do the hurricane presentation, and I'll sit back and watch. Oh, I hope you're feeling better, Javier. Okay. Straw yards, Amaya, yes. What else we got? How often we get El Nino? Great question, Kelsey. I love that. All right. Usually, I have a link here. I'm so fascinated by El Nino, La Nina right here. It's all measured by a little part of the Pacific waters. But there's a page right there that I have right here. I wonder, I was texting my solar people and they never wrote me back. So if you look at historical information, there you go. Any years that were red was El Nino. That means that water in the Pacific that they measure is warmer than average. Any years that are blue is La Nina, which that water in the Pacific is cooler, which we're looking at now. So you can see last year we were not red, not blue. We were neutral. And you look at the months, September, October, November, August, September. So usually, you know, we really look at this area right here for peak season. But 23 was El Nino. The one before that was 18. Now 18 had Michael, the exact same kind of storm as Idalia. Different strength, yes, but where it formed, where it went, basic. Obviously, 18 we had Florence that went around El Nino. Last year we had a storm called, or 23 we had a storm called Lee that was extremely strong, but it didn't occur. But these El Nino years, we see a lot of storms popping. Dorian, 2004 was a El Nino year, and we had Gene and Francis go around. So it's fascinating to go back and look at history. You can see a lot of repeat patterns a lot of times with years. And you can go back and look at the water temperature too. There's NOAA satellite anomaly map that I have right here. You can actually go back in time and see what the temperatures were different. I think this database goes back a long time. It goes all the way back to 92. So, I mean, there's your May 94 temperatures. So anyway, it's kind of interesting to go back and look. You know, let's look at 23 just to see what it looked like the first part of the year when we were starting to see that we were going to be in let's see here. What am I looking at here? Why is it doing that? Oh, never mind. Wrong year. The phone's distracting me. Okay. What am I doing? I'm 25 again. Here we go. Not years. All right, so here's looking back at, that's the wrong year, 24. What am I doing here? Anyway, like I said, it's fun to go back in time. All right. So here's basically where we're at in 23 when we had El Nino. We had this section of water that they measure. Oh, my marker don't work. Well, anyway, you can see it's warmer in the Pacific, which signified El Nino. Water temperatures were still warm, though, that year. We had a little cool down in the Gulf. Let's look at peak season stuff. So it's still warm. The difference in 23, with 23 waters were extremely warm, but we had a lot of wind shear from El Nino, and we had a lot of activity in the Atlantic. So, it takes a lot of pieces of the puzzle to make tropics work. We have a lot of Saharan air dust. We have years of El Nino with a lot of wind shear. You're not going to see a lot of storms because of that wind shear. So even though we had warm water in 23, we had a lot of wind shear that prevented a lot of storms in the Caribbean from happening. These waves never made it over there to get kick-started. The waves are the seed that helps things get going. If that seed never makes it there and dries up or gets pushed off to the Atlantic because of high wind shear, then they never get a chance to get going. So that, And I had this Brian McNulty map up here I wanted to show you. These are anomaly maps for the Western Caribbean, where we're at now. So we're technically, this ocean heat content is tricky. The other map was sea surface temperature. But our ocean heat content is really the most important factor with storms. And 24 was a record year. That's that peach line way up top. 23 was the darker maroon line, which is below where we're at now, but was the second hottest year. So 24, 23 were the hottest. And they only went back to 13 since this graphs were taken with OHC, which to me makes a lot of sense because we have a lot of storms that compare to last 10 or so years. That seems like when things really have gotten going since 16 with Matthew and then 17 with Harvey and Irma and a lot of other storms that year. But so we definitely pay attention to the last 10 years on these ocean heat contents, and there were years that were low, cool, but we're in a hot year. That's why I can see us having a little bit busier season. Ocean heat content is above 23, but less 24, but then above every other year since 13. So you could say it's the second or third warmest May 18th since 2013. So how about that? That's what we look at on that. Water temps I wanted to talk about real quick. This is crazy. So West Tampa, I don't know where all these markers are at, but these are current temps. So we look at the May column right here. May. There we go. Quit clicking, Mike. Quit clicking. So there's May, where we're at. So I just like to randomly look at, water temps compared to, I don't know when their averages are set, but, we're 3-4 degrees above. Usually Cannon Bay's 85 in May. It's 88.9 this morning. This is, happening. This isn't even daytime, but, Duck Key, I think it's down at the Keys. It's 86.7 this morning. Normally it's 83.4. I don't know where a lot of these places are. These are all buoys. Tarpon Bay East, I guess that's somewhere around me. 86.5, normally it's 84. That's today. So usually by 5 p.m. this will go up about 2 degrees. Willie. Where's Willie? Watson's, so it's interesting. Fort Myers is 87.6 right now. Normally it's 82.6 for May. Port Manatee is 85.1. Normally it's 81.9 for May. So I don't know. I like looking at that stuff. So water is a little warmer. I've been tracking this one down here in the Keys. I thought I was going to hit 90 Saturday. I didn't look yesterday. Let's see what it is. Vacay Key. I figured it would hit 90 to one of these days this weekend. But didn't do it yesterday. 88.5. So it's kind of stuck there. It's hard to get that water. We got strong high pressure winds, and that's obviously keeping the sea sim, but it's still 88.5. It'll hit 90 here soon enough. Some of these aren't working, these buoys here. I don't think Naples is working. I think it's only, yeah, it doesn't work. So we really don't have a lot. Cape Coral. Water temp hit 88.9 yesterday. Almost, it's 87.8. So what this is, where I look at, like, so yesterday's low was 86.5. Well, today's low is 86. So it'll be a little higher today. So it'll probably reach 89 today. And it's normal this time of year, but man, when that water gets cooking like that, it doesn't take much. So here's, anyway, all right, I went past 10 o'clock. Ramble. Willie. Boone, North Carolina forecast. Oh, okay, I didn't forget you. All right, let's go. May 28th through June 1st. All right, so we got a cold front coming down. The 28th, I can't do tropical tidbits. That would be my easiest. We'll look at this weather. I like the Euro here, so I think we got a little bit of a front. I saw the following weekend maybe coming into play. So it might be out of there at the time. So there is a little front coming through. This is the 27th. That'd be great timing for you. Well, nothing's showing up too bad. I mean, this is obviously way long away. Let's look here. Yeah, we got to get rid of that click. I'll do it after my trip. Oh, let's look at 850. All right. Let's see, 28th. Yeah, it just doesn't go out far enough yet. Yeah. Might not. It's not gonna. I don't know. I wouldn't be stressing for Boone at all right now. Looks like there's definitely going to be a nice little front coming through there for you. Here's the 29th, 28th. See that cool? This is your anomaly map. So if that front comes through the 27th, let's say, then you're going to have cooler air over the mountains. So you'll be kind of cool the 29th. Look at that, 10, 15 degrees. So definitely a cool front coming. It won't be, all right, so the one thing that looks pretty certain, it ain't going to be hot. How about that? Might be a little rain if that front sticks around, but at least it won't be hot. It's going to be a little cooler than normal. That's right, Chris. Clicks. Hey, the first lives didn't even have my camera on me. All right, anyway, cool. Well, hey, we'll be live Wednesday. Appreciate you tuning in. Don't forget, cruisers, can't wait. 2 weeks we set sail. Not a lot of lives up the week of the cruise, so we'll maybe do some shenanigans from the boat. Next Monday, we're heading up the Gulf Coast Jam. So we'll probably be live. We'll probably be live Monday. But guess what? That'll be it. Let me show you where we're going to be staying at here. Let's see if this is the right link or not. I was trying to find the house we're staying at, but I don't know. I was kind of excited. My buddy Brandon, if you're watching. But anyway. All right. So anyway, we're going to be staying in Panama City Beach next week. All right. My good buddy Brandon, we've stayed there many, 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 many years now, and he's supported a lot of our charity events. So it's summertime. Just letting you know. He did a special code just for you. It's got a lot of homes across the Gulf Coast here, not just Florida, but Upper Gulf too. So check them out, Gulf Coast Getaways, and you get a 15%. MWP 15. You get 15% off, or just call him and say you're a fan of Mike's, and he'll take care of you. So great people, him and his wife Brittany. So that's where we're staying. If you want to stay up there, give him a call. All right, we will be live on Wednesday talking weather again. Okay, so that's it for me. We're gonna plop on over to mwpchat.com now for a little bit, keep the party going, and we'll see you on Wednesday. All right.